Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Icon here. Today's video is going to be a little bit different from what we normally do. So normally I'm talking about map breakdowns, I'm looking at scrims, I'm lending advice, I'm telling you guys what teams are doing right, what they're doing wrong, mistakes that were made, why they end up winning a map, stuff like that. But just recently, there has been a lot of drama, a lot of childish behavior in the Call of Duty scene. So I do want to cover that. I don't enjoy covering stuff like this, but I feel like as a Call of Duty YouTuber, it's something that I should probably put out there. So without further ado, it kind of all started with this and then a comment from this and different things. But essentially, Arsity was just here. He was head glitching. In the comments, he says, I shouldn't have pre-aimed. But essentially, an SMG player runs around the corner. They slide cancel, which is a broken mechanic. I'll talk about that in 1 second. And then he ends up dying when this is probably a kill that 10 out of 10 times he probably should have gotten. Now, in the comments down below, you can see that most pros are commenting on this and feeling sorry for him. So Censor says, oh my God, I'm so sorry you had to go through that, bro. And then Parasite, you also should be strafing. Parasite just always offering some sort of weird random comment. That's what Parasite does. Frosty, I'm sorry for this. Frosty was the one that got that kill. So Frosty, I'm sorry for this. JCap, laugh out loud, all sorts of other things. So from there, things just got a little bit worse. Now, this whole thread, first of all, I do want to say that before we get into this thread, there is a video out there. So Attach did a video on how to slide cancel like a pro. So this is a really good video that explains how you do it, how it's done, what the consequences are, what it looks like, what kills look like when you're using this. So by all means, if you want to see what this looks like, go check it out because he does a good job covering it. But from that, this is where all the childish behavior comes from. And of course, it starts with Clayster. So Clayster put out a tweet a little bit ago that says movement lowers skill gap. LMAO lost. So just like Clayster does, stirring the pot, getting things going. Abeezy's laughing because Abeezy is a relatively young. He's a fast SMG. He takes advantage of this. And then from there, so Slasher was the one that originally said this. He says, this was me. Why the F? Are you being weird and subtweeting? It's 2020. Get a grip. 2, there's no way in your right mind you think slide canceling or IW snaking and IW was just a different mechanic that was also unintended that broke the game, increases the skill gap. So another childish reply, Clayster says, sounds like you need to get better, brother. So this isn't constructive at all, none whatsoever. He's just replying and just kind of stirring up the drama. And then Slasher says, you've lost your way. Absolute bias, talking, not a care for what's better for the gamer scene. Have a good one. I'm out. So I agree with Slasher here. He's not talking about what's best to do for the game. He has a team. So talking about Clayster, Clayster has a team with really fast, really young, really good SMGs that take advantage of this. So he doesn't want it to be changed because his SMGs are pretty good at it. As we digress further, there's a bunch of more replies here. So if you want to go in and look at all these, you can. But Simp also says mind blown. Now, remember, Simp and Clayster were both on EU last year. They won a championship together. So most of the time, they're going to have the same viewpoints on things. So Simp says mind blown. Like, yeah, I agree with you. Temp from there says movement definitely increases skill gap, but this movement is whack. And then he goes on to talk about like camera glitches and stuff like that are also in this. But I agree with Temp. It's not supposed to be there. It's a glitch that people are taking advantage of that shouldn't be there. So it does move on from there. Patty Cakes or Aches from the LA Gorillas comes in and says the entire pro COD community yelling at each other because of a horrible game-breaking bug that hasn't even been addressed by IW. And just pure bias running wild. It makes the game worse, period. I don't care how good or bad anyone is at it. It's an unintended, broken mechanic. And this is correct. This is the right way to look at this. And I just feel like there's such immaturity in the COD community, which I'll talk about more in a minute. But this is how it should be. It doesn't matter if your team's good at it. It doesn't matter if your team's bad at it. This should not be in the game. So now there's a whole bunch of people talking biased about it, which starts with Simp. So Simp says, all of you AARs say everything makes the game worse until you can stand there and get free kills like it's 2010. So everybody knows Simp's one of the best up-and-coming gamers in the COD community that there is. But This is so immature and this is so childish. I want you to think about this for a second. So imagine, and I'm just going to take this, I'm going to apply it to a different sport. Imagine in the NFL. Imagine if Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes, these young quarterbacks that are setting the game on fire, came in and just MF'd all of the old quarterbacks that came before them. So Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, all those guys, oh, they're terrible. They can't throw like we do. They're not putting up the same amount of touchdown passes that we are in a year. They're not throwing for the same amount of yards. You know, the old way of the game is gone where you stand in the pocket and blah. So that doesn't happen, right? There's a mutual respect for those that came before them, and the Call of Duty game has been so childish for so long, and I kind of thought that this would change since there are so many organizations that are putting in $25 million just to buy in. Now, that's not talking about, you know, the offices where they game. That's not talking about their contracts. It's just the buy-in. The buy-in alone to put a team into this league was $25 million, and you have this stuff going on publicly. It's not a good look for the community. So, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, but as I digress here, Aches says, yeah, man, F the days where subs had to think about how to make a good play. Simp says, I make great plays all the time, and it has nothing to deal with sliding. Aches says, so let's say sliding was completely disabled, you making the exact same plays. Simp says, in this game, yeah, I can go flip spawns without sliding. So Aches says, I'm talking about getting a kill. You're going to sprint into an AR at will every life, and this just... it just goes on and on. Look at all of these blue check responses. There's just all kinds of bickering amongst pros in this Call of Duty scene. So, just when I thought this wouldn't get worse, this happens. Hastr0, CEO, owner of Call of Duty in Dallas, Dallas Empire, comes in and says, adaptation. This is what separates the great COD pros from the really good ones. And then from this, Aches says, Mike, shut up, and then there's a smile, and there's a couple other things that go on underneath this. But I just don't get it. Look, there's a broken mechanic. Slide canceling is not supposed to work. And I don't want to take sides on this, but if it's something that's not intended to be in the game, then it should be fixed and it should be taken out. And all of these people like Hastr0, first of all, he shouldn't be involved in this conversation to begin with, right? He is the owner of an organization. He should just be calling up his players saying, knock it off, don't partake in this, be more professional in this, but he's not. So he's just stirring the pot further, and I don't know. I just wish that all this would go away. I've been watching Call of Duty for a really long time, and one of the biggest issues I've had with it is that there's so much immaturity, there's so many childish remarks, there's just so much of this stuff out there that I was hoping with the move to these organizations spending all this money, it would go away, but it hasn't yet. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end this here. Again, I don't like to cover this stuff all the time, but I feel like it's something that I probably shouldn't pass up just because it's going to be on news all over the place. It's on Twitter and all social media all over the place. So I did want to cover it. So if you're new around here, hit that subscribe button. Go check out some of my other videos because most of the time I'm talking about strategy and what's happening in game, and I'm not talking about stuff like this. So go watch some of my other videos and hit that subscribe button. If you are here and you do watch these videos all the time, make sure you hit that like before you head on your way. And thank you guys for sticking with me through this one. I will catch you in the next one. We'll see you.